Dr. Kandar Parikh. There is no need to introduce Dr. Kandar Parikh sir in India. He is also one of my teacher. I learned initially from him. He is the director Sham Eurosurgical Hospital. He is exclusively focusing on RIRS. He is council member West Zone, secretary Gujarat Urology Association, treasurer West Zone Urology, secretary West Zone Urology, council member USI, associate international board member ULIS, chairman Advanced Endourology Conference, which all of you might be knowing, conducted various workshops, and in fact next year our national conference, all of you please should come. How well he conducts, we will watch. He is a mentor for many of the people, not only CMAST and Euromed. With this introduction, over to Kandar Parikh sir.
Okay, so good evening everybody, and thank you Dr. Chandramohan, Dr. Anil for the great opportunity. In my mind, RIRS is the easiest surgery to learn and operate, but there are some complex situations where you require meticulous planning and good experience. So in next 10 to 12 minutes, I'm going to walk you through some of the complex situations we face when we do RIRS, but still it is feasible.
Sir, your face is partially cut. Just readjust the camera so that in the live session. Yeah, thank you very much. Little more.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so fine. I'm going to share with you some of the complex situations, and the situation becomes complex when there is an abnormal anatomy of the pelvic calyceal system, when the kidney is anatomically abnormally located, especially ectopic kidney, horseshoe kidney, mal-rotated kidney, and when there is an abnormal anatomy of the ureter or urethra. Sometimes we have a patient with the abnormal body habitus also. Stone in a calyceal diverticulum is always a challenge. Can be tackled with the PCNL, but RIRS is also feasible to do with calyceal diverticulum. And of course, Dr. Chandramohan has very well covered pediatric cases. Again, it's not very simple to do RIRS in pediatric cases. Now, the stone in the lower calyx has always remained a challenge with RIRS. If you look at the guideline of EAU and AUA, the stone less than 20 mm in size can be tackled very well with RIRS. But when it comes to lower calyx, they also recommend that one can go for mini PCNL or micro PCNL or maybe a conventional PCNL. But I believe that when there is a stone less than 20 mm in lower calyx, I think it's perfectly feasible to do RIRS, because my plan always is to grab the stone and put it into the upper calyx from the lower calyx if the stone is small and if the anatomy of the calyx is good, or else I fragment the stone in multiple pieces, 4 or 5 pieces, so converting a large stone into a small stone, and then you can put it into the upper calyx and do the rest of the job. So for me, that lower calyx stone is now as good as the upper calyx or middle calyx stone. Look at this anatomy. This is, I think, very, very crucial. Infundibulopelvic ligament angle. This is the most important part. If it is less than 90 degrees, in that case, the entry into the lower calyx sometimes becomes difficult. And even if you enter, it is difficult sometimes to face your laser tip at the stone. So in that case, if you have a possibility of having a round tip laser fiber, I think probably it will help you more. When the infundibular length is more than 3 centimeters, entry may be easy, but then it's always better to dust this stone into this stone completely rather than trying to grab it and put it into the upper calyx and put a stent and come out. If the infundibular width is less than 5 millimeter, your entry into the lower calyx is difficult. Now look here, on this X-ray, though the anatomy looks a little complex, but here the angle of the lower calyx is very nice. So I could enter very easily with my scope. Again, the infundibular length is also not a big problem, and the width is also very large. So in that case, from the stone in the lower calyx was grabbed and put it into the upper calyx in a comfortable position, and I could deal with the situation. In this patient, there are two problems. If you look at calyx, the infundibulum of the upper calyx is very, very long, and if the stone is here, the medially facing upper calyx, then your scope has to travel like this, walk through the upper calyx, and go here. So this is going to be a little tricky situation for you. Similarly, when there is a stone here in the lower calyx, you can see the angle is very bad. So this is really a tricky situation. But still, it could be, I could do it with the help of a round tip laser fiber. Look at the anatomy of the now ureter. Sometimes you are likely to face the kinking of severe kinking of the ureter. Here also it's a very, very bad kink. Here there is a kink at the level of almost at the level of the UPJ. So these are the difficult cases. In such cases, what I do is I try to give a little head low position. Secondly, to use two guide wires. Normally, I don't use a safety guide wire. To use a safety guide wire, and the working guide wire is a super stiff guide wire, so that will try to help you drain to straighten the kink. Sometimes I pass a ureteric catheter over the guide wire and completely drain the system before I proceed. So sometimes because of the sagging of the kidney is also prevented. Sorry? I can't hear you.
Sir, please go ahead. It is disturbance from someone. Is there, sir, there is some another sign in from your name?
No, there is nobody from my.
Dr. Chandramohan, sir, can you mute the other from where sound is coming?
Please, yeah, please do that, because I am the only one who is using it
Yes.
at this moment. Okay, fine, no problem.
I have muted, not much disturbance to me. I have muted everybody. I will check again, no problem.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So now, and then the third maneuver, what you can do is that you can lift the kidney from the back and push it slightly. So that can also help to straighten the kink. Now, look at this case. This is a pelvic kidney. There is a stone in the lower calyx. So when you put your scope has to travel like this, go up right into the pelvis. So this much part is not difficult. So now if you have a stone here in the pelvis, I think you can usually finish it. It's like just a regular case. If you have a stone in the upper calyx like this, here also it's not a very difficult job. The only problem here is this stone in the lower calyx, because your scope tip has to deflect like this and then deal with the stone. Now, if you see here, this is your scope in the ureter. Once it has come into the pelvis, then it has to deflect. You have to deflect the tip, and then now you are seeing the stone. Similarly, your laser fiber also has to travel through your ureteroscope like this. So sometimes it is extremely difficult to deliver the energy. So I am showing you a small video of a case where there is a stone in the lower calyx in the pelvic kidney. The first step which I do is in such a case is to do a dye study, to delineate the pelvic LICL system, and then insert guide wire. It is difficult to retain two guide wires in this patient because sometimes it slips out of the system because of a shorter length. Now here over the guide wire, I have backloaded my scope, and my scope has entered here. Now you can see that there is a stone in the lower calyx. This is posteriorly facing calyx. So sometimes lasing is also very, very difficult. Here I'm using a digital scope. Thankfully, the fiber comes out at 3 o'clock position. Here I'm trying to, if the stone is small, you can try to grab it with the basket. Once you have grabbed the stone with the basket, then try to put it in a straight course, and then your job is easy. Like in this patient, I have dropped it into the upper calyx, and once it is dropped into the upper calyx, you can, like a regular case, you can do a laser dusting. So for the planning of the anatomical abnormal kidney, I always prefer to do a pre-stenting. That will make your job easy. Secondly, use a super stiff guide wire with the floppy tip. Availability of the short ureteral access sheath is very, very mandatory if you want to use a ureteral access sheath. RGP normally we do not do in a regular case, but in this case I'm going to do RGP, all anatomical abnormal kidney, to delineate the ureter and the pelvic alysis system. And if you have possibility to have both flexiscope and a digital scope, that is the that will certainly help you. I'll show you a short video of a calisal diverticular stone. In case of a calisal diverticulum, what you first do is a flexible ureteroscopy and try to find out the ostium. Usually, sometimes it is very difficult to find out the ostium. So you do a dye study that will delineate the entire pelvic alysis system as well as the calisal diverticulum is delineated. Then try to look for the opening or the ostium. If you can see the opening, in that case you have got two appropriately sized opening. In that case, you might put a small incision. I prefer to put multiple shallow incision in order to enter into the calisal diverticulum and then deal with it. If you cannot, if the opening is very small, in that case, probably sometimes you can try to put a guide wire. Like here, the guide wire is placed in the calisal diverticulum. Try to do a balloon dilation of this area. Of course, this is extremely difficult, but sometimes it is possible. Once the balloon is dilated, in that case, your entry into the lower calyx, calisal diverticulum is going to be easy. And then, or else you can put an incision and deal with that. If you cannot see the opening, in that case, you can do a methylene blue test, or what we call is a blue spritz test, where the methylene blue is injected in the pelvic. Here, in this patient, my scope is at the level of the upper calyx. In a case with the calisal diverticulum, I could not see the opening. You can see that there is a dye study which was done to delineate the pelvic alysis system as well as the diverticulum. Here, I'm trying to look for the diverticulum opening, which I'm unable to do that. So I injected some methylene blue in the pelvic alysis system. Now, the methylene blue which got collected into the calyx, now it shows ejection of the methylene blue. Once you see the ejection, you know that this is the ostium, and then you try to put the cut. And once you put the cut, the diverticulum opens up, and then very soon you will see small stones. And both the stones can, in this patient, there were two small stones. Here you can see the stone here. So both the stones were seen, and then I dealt with it. It's important that you use a laser setting of about 1 joule and 10 to 15 hertz. The incision has to be shallow incision. Don't put a very deep cut, otherwise sometimes it will bleed a lot. Similarly, in this patient, we had a calisal diverticulum in the upper calyx. And you can see that my scope is looking at the diverticulum. I could see a small opening of the diverticulum. So I thought of, this is the opening. So I thought of passing a guide wire through it in order to dilate this with the balloon. So this is the guide wire going in the calisal diverticulum. Sometimes it is extremely difficult to retain that guide wire into the diverticulum. But here in this patient, I was fortunate to do that. And then once this is done, I passed the, you can see that there's a guide wire in the diverticulum, and then I pass the balloon. Here the balloon is, you can see the two markers of the balloon. The balloon is sitting at the level of the calisal diverticular neck. And then once the dilatation was done, you can see the nice opening is seen, and then I could enter into this. So this is how, then the job was easy. You can dust the stone, or you can fragment the stone and retrieve the stone fragment. So I think to perform RIRS is technically feasible in a complex situations also, and it has got all the advantages of minimal access technique, so that there are less complications. It is very much result oriented, and of course the surgeon's experience is very, very crucial. The procedure is patient and surgeons friendly, so I think you can extend the use of RIRS, or you can extend the indications of RIRS in a patient where there is a complex situation. Of course, the wear and tear of the scope is more as compared to the normal. And if you have feasibility or if you have possibility to use a single use scope, I think it is better to use it. So thank you very much. And I finished with my talk because of the limitation of the time. I could not cover horseshoe kidney and malrotated kidney. So Dr. Chandramohan, thank you. I'm done with my talk.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. That is a crisp talk. You have really limited time. And I have seen you one time in live conference, in your conference where upper ureteric stricture was there. You did balloon dilatation and proceeded. I might have not dared at that time, but successfully proceeded. And then you stented without any complication. You are expert. Thank you very much, sir.